Winter storm watch in effect now through 9 tonight, possibly up to 8 inches of snow. That's after rain, freezing rain, and sleet. The high of 34, but a deep freeze tonight, and a lot of schools calling off or going remote. You can get details at WMAY.com for the Central Illinois listening audience. Yesterday, Governor J.B. Pritzker insisting that he still has masks mandated in Illinois.
The executive order is in effect. We still have a mask requirement in the state of Illinois for schools.
So we'll get to more of that, but other mask issues across the country. You've got congressmen in Texas and other officials suing the CDC over travel mask mandates. And that's an ongoing situation where you have a variety of different groups suing the CDC, saying that the court needs to issue an immediate injunction against the mandate and end it all for good. That mandate's set to expire in March for people to wear masks on public transportation, but it's expected that the CDC will update that and continue it forward and expand it. But the arguments are that the mask mandate for those on public transportation is unconstitutional, saying that Congress has never passed a law authorizing the executive branch to issue blanket mask mandates on American citizens. So we'll see how that plays out. Could very well go to the U.S. Supreme Court with the challenge that some officials in Texas are bringing against the CDC. Now, that's a macrocosm for the country. A microcosm for the country is the state of Illinois, where we've had an interesting showing of the three branches of government at work. The executive branch that Governor J.B. Pritzker heads, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. Those three branches of government. And they each are separate but equal. They have equal authorities and powers, so to speak. The separation of powers is very important in a constitutional republic. But despite a circuit court judge and a legislative committee blocking Governor J.B. Pritzker's school mask and exclusion mandate, the governor says students are still required to wear masks in school because of COVID-19. Now, that's despite also hundreds of local school boards determining that they have gone mask optional. So here's some of the back and forth that Governor J.B. Pritzker provided, some of the conversation we had yesterday with State Senator Don DeWitt, and also some of the conversation we had yesterday with Attorney Thomas DeVore. This after the mask rule was found null and void February 4th by a Sangamon County Circuit Court judge. Then on paper, the rule expired Sunday. The governor reissued the rule Monday, saying it's part of an ongoing appeal. And then the Bipartisan Joint Committee on Administrative Rules blocked that rule on Tuesday. So here's the governor yesterday being asked about this entire situation, and he insists that despite the judge saying there's a temporary restraining order on the rule, despite JCAR voting the rule down.
Yeah, the executive order is in effect. We still have a mask requirement in the state of Illinois for schools, and then more broadly, as you know, I've already announced that outside of schools that we'll be removing the mask mandate on February 28th. I'm looking forward to that. I know we all are. And then, and then we'll see. We're going to hear from the appellate court, I would hope, relatively shortly and have a little more clarity, despite the Sangamon County judge's ruling.
Of government saying that it's not in effect, that the emergency rule.
That's not what JCAR ruled. In fact, what the JCAR members, and I think you heard from many of them yesterday, at least the Democrats who spoke yesterday, spoke about, as I believe, that we need to hear from the appellate court. And that is, in fact, we're figuring out, and they decided to move one way. We're figuring out what to do in the interim and hoping that we're going to hear from that court very shortly.
There are three co-equal branches of government in this state, and those mandates that he has implemented for the last 2 years, I believe, disrespected the other two branches of this state's government. That people feel that their rights have been violated. People feel that the one-man control that the governor has implemented with regards to the mask mandate process, we have always taken the position on the Senate Republican side that these decisions are local decisions. They need to be made with local school districts. They need to be made in homes where parents can actually have a decision as to how they choose to deal with this pandemic these decisions are finally in local government control, local school districts, parents in those districts that have chosen to go mask optional. Parents now get to make the decision how their children deal with this, and we think that's the right approach.
That we need to hear from the appellate court, and that is, in fact, we're figuring out, and they decided to move one way. We're figuring out what to do in the interim, and hoping that we're going to hear from that court very shortly. Again, the judge's decision, which you're referring to, poorly decided. It leaves out entirely a section of the law that she obviously either didn't read or didn't want to address. So I think that's all going to be considered by the appellate court.
Many of the arguments you made to us and you made to the trial court are gone now because the legislature has knocked those rules out. So tell me how that impacts our decision. I'm going to tell them what the obvious is that, most of their arguments are gone now. I mean, it is. The mask has really been a flashpoint, and I understand it and appreciate it. I've seen personally, talking to parents, the impact that it's had on these children, having to wear them for so long and getting them off. It's overwhelming for them. But excluding children from school on such flippant circumstances and sending them out the building and not being able to be educated has impact that's going to last a generation for these kids. And so that's just as important of an issue. And I think our school districts know that, which is why even before the JCAR committee suspended that rule, we were pushing 600 districts out of our state, out of 800 and something, that took those policies and threw them in the garbage once they had a little bit of analysis of Judge Grishow's decision. And now that JCAR's done this, just last night we had another 30, 40, or 50. So this issue is about over, Greg, and we can move on and start getting these children healed from what they've had to suffer.
And yesterday, Attorney DeVore and the Attorney General filing separate briefs. As DeVore said, he says that the governor's arguments have no legs to stand on. The AG says that they're moving forward with their appeal.
From the
That's the latest.
Studios, take the easy way out. Stay informed. Stay